Hi, everyone. Welcome back to a Literally Nerdy podcast. On this episode, we're going to talk about the movie The Journey, which apparently was the first Arab anime. So this is going to be an interesting discussion. We all watched it. We all have our thoughts and reviews, and let's get into it.
Right. So first of all, the movie is easily you can easily find it on YouTube, which is nice. So you can just search the junior anime and you can watch it for yourself. I recommend to everyone if you're Muslim or not. It's enjoyable for everyone. So as Twain said earlier, it is the first Arab anime, and it was made in conjunction of Japan and Saudi Arabian animators that worked together for this. And they also recruited Arab artists to really work on this because it was really important to have representation. Also, it's good to have just a diverse group of people working on this movie. So I really like that you took the effort to make representation actually good.
So they actually tried to actually make characters not look like caricatures.
Yeah, and they also took the time to make the characters look more Arab than because there's there's still some differences between a Japanese character and an Arab person, So it's good that they had that input.
And Abyssinians, as you will.
Also Abyssinians as well. So this is a Japanese Saudi Arabian animated action fantasy film directed by Kobun Shizuno, written by Asuhiro Tomioka, and co-produced by Toei Animation.
Yeah.
Yep, Toei Animation and Manga Productions Saudi Arabia chapter.
Mm-hmm.
And the film revolves around a potter named Aus, who joins a battle to defend his home city of Mecca and the Kaaba from the Abyssinians, which is modern day Ethiopia. And the film was released in Japan on June 25th, 2021. It was supposed to be premiered at a film festival in 2020, but COVID stopped that. So unfortunately, but then it released in Japan eventually last year.
And in Saudi Arabia. And I think
it premiered also in the UAE.
Yeah, the UAE, yeah.
As well. Mm-hmm. And so the director I mentioned is known for doing the Detective Conan movies. And the musical score, which I really enjoyed, was by Kaoru Wada, which is known for doing the Inuyasha anime soundtrack, which I liked. And also the main character is voiced by Turo Furura, which is known as Tuxedo Mask from Sailor Moon. So that's and Braha, which is the main villain, was voiced by Takaya Kuroda, which is known for characters such as Simon from Durara, and Zurara, which is voiced by Hiroshi Kamiya, which is known from Levi from Attack on Titan, and other voices that were there, which I really found interesting, was that Ao's wife voice actor is Sailor Moon from Sailor Moon Crystal.
Oh,
so it's kind of interesting.
Are you serious? So we had the whole family.
Yeah, and then other voice actors that showed up was the voice actor of Gojo and from JJK, the other characters, and also Zoro from One Piece showed up. One of the characters, I don't know which character it was, but he was one of the voices, which was really cool.
So we had an all-star cast for the first Arab anime.
Yes, all-star cast
of the Kaaba.
Studio and soundtrack, which me and Toby were watching this. It was this sounds like Inuyasha, and yeah,
you're right.
Yep.
And they also have an Arab dub. So they did an Arab dub and a Japanese dub for this movie. And apparently
Japanese is the original
dub soon, but I don't know when that's gonna come out, but which is nice.
So I want to preface, because I don't know if people who aren't Muslim that will ever listen to the podcast know what the Kaaba is. So the Kaaba is the giant black box that Muslims pray to in Saudi Arabia. It's where Muslims go to make pray towards. Excuse me. Gotta watch your word. Pray towards. Pray towards. It is the house of Abraham. It's the house that Abraham built with his sons. It is the house of God, and that's really what the premise of the entire movie is. That's God's house. God will protect it. even though the people of Mecca wanted to protect their home. Oh my gosh, I can't remember the uncle's name.
Oh,
Talib, was it Talib?
Abu Talib.
Abu
Yeah.
Dhabi.
Was actually saying, I'm in charge of my camels, but the Kaaba has a lord of its own. And so the Kaaba.
Yeah, I like that line in the movie.
It was so powerful. Like,
it was such a powerful line.
It was just like, okay, yeah, no, like this is God's house, which is, and we'll get into this later, but it was really interesting how they really made sure the story stuck.
Yes.
Exactly. And I wanted to mention one more thing is that the creators who had the concept of this movie were like two Arabs who just enjoyed watching anime growing up and then wanted to show like their stories through the anime style, which I find really cool because anime is huge in that area of the world. So a lot of people in that area of the world get influenced by anime. So yeah, I like that.
Definitely.
And as you can see, the anime has a lot of anime tropes. So.
Heavy.
And one thing I forgot to also want to mention is that they liked how a lot of anime show like a group of people trying to fight for an overarching goal. And that's how this movie portrayed that as well, which is nice.
Yeah, and also to mention that like this story is like it's from like the Quran, the Surah, the elephant. So that's what the movie is based on, the story. And it takes place like right before the Prophet's time, Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. So yeah, so that's where the story takes place. And Muslims believe that this stuff actually happened in the past and stuff. And
yeah, and then in the beginning of the movie, it said it was based on like true events. So
yeah,
historical events.
And when you watch it, like it doesn't seem like, even as a Muslim watching it, it was like knowing the story, it was still kind of like you're taken aback.
Yeah.
Because like of all the stuff that happened. There are some scenes in this movie that had me shook.
Yes, and I can explain that later.
Okay, I guess the later part is now. Let's talk about the movie.
Yeah. Also, another thing I wanted to say was that it's called The Journey, and I feel like it's called The Journey because it's like following Elsa's character throughout this whole battle, but also taking like stories like of miracles that happened in the past, like helping those stories, helping them move forward. Which I like for example, they had like 3 like kind of like sections of the movie where they like show like debate another like story in like a type of like slideshow presentation type of thing, and it shows like the Prophet Noah's Ark story, but it's in the point of view of a villager witnessing it. And also Prophet Musa spinning the Red Sea, and also the story of like prophethood with like the Ad tribe. But all of these were in the point of view of someone witnessing a miracle, not like in the point of view of the prophet, which was kind of interesting. So yeah.
I think also because they wanted to respect, because like we have Islamic movies like The Message, where they don't actually portray the prophet. So they were probably going about it like, if we can't include the prophet, let's just not include the prophet at all, include the next best thing, which is from, a point of view of the story.
Yeah,
and
they don't depict any of the prophets in this movie.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Which Islamically is the thing. You're not supposed to portray any of these prophets, and you're not supposed to like draw them or anything like that. So yeah.
Which was, I appreciated that. I
very appreciated, because there's a lot of movies that
they try
out there.
Yeah.
That are different.
They try so desperately.
Yeah, I mean, again, they're not like made by Muslims, but like again, if you don't know, if you're not that aware of Islam is like one of the Abrahamic religions. So these stories overlap with the Jewish stories and like then Christianity as well. Like these stories overlap and all, and yeah, and there's some like minor differences between them, but like so
yeah, overall like the same story.
Yeah.
All right, so what are your favorite like thoughts and stuff about the movie? Or what things you really enjoy, things you might not have enjoyed as much? Like, what are your thoughts?
Okay. Well, I guess going into the movie, I love anime, so I was really drawn to the character designs. They're done really well. The animation was also really good. Like, it was very fun to watch the movie. But I really do like the main character, Alice, how they introduce him and like the whole tribe and history. Like the movie starts with like a bit of history, which was cool too to give some context of what's happening. Because Abraha is this big, wouldn't say empire or anything like that, but they're trying to like, conquer more land. And they're, like any other empires, they want to just take what they can get. So they had like the little backstory about that, which was cool. And then we go to see Aus, the main character. I mean, just like any main characters, they they have a backstory, and then they have things they went through and how they overcame it. And then one of the big things was like how he wanted to redeem himself through this battle that they have, because way back when he was younger, he was like kind of like a slave, I would say. I don't know what to describe it, but he was like as a kid, he was like
They were
doing things, like stealing
kidnapped.
from people and stuff,
Yeah.
like not doing the great
Thieves,
things.
right? Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, he feels guilty about it, wants to, redeem himself with the stuff. And he also has like a wife and a little baby. And and like the family who brought him in was very nice and like encouraging him, but like, no, you're good, you've been forgiven and stuff. But yeah, he wants to like redeem.
He had his own little redemption arc
I know,
before we got into his
I
story.
know, like that's the thing. Redemption.
And that's like a anime trope. There's always like some redemption.
The redeeming arc.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, I know I was gonna talk about like the friend that he has, that like we see him come in. Like he wants to be like, he's like a mercenary, right? Or something.
Yeah.
I mean, like just like any both sides of any war, there's always gonna be good and bad people, So yeah, like, so if you want to talk about that,
he like was so edgy.
Like, so edgy.
White hair. He has white hair.
Don't talk about fighting for people. That's not what we're here for, sir. That's exactly why you're here. What do you think we're here for? We're here for fighting for our people, for the Kaba. We're here fighting for our community, and you're here because you want to eat. I feel you, but you can't just be in here like he was doing a lot of stuff just for him to turn around and be like, you know what? I'll fight with you if you feed me.
It was kind of funny. He comes in, wants to start a fight.
He was like want to start a fight for no reason.
He was so aggressive.
And they tell the story of Noah's Ark, and that like I also like this is also kind of like related to the times where a lot of stories are just told to like, that's how things were done back then,
like
to
boost
motivate
morale
people
and
and boost morale, just telling stories. So he tells the story, and then that's, I guess, what brings him to Zurara is his name, like makes him calm down a bit and like
just a little bit.
And they grew up together. Like Alice and Zurara had like a similar upbringing, and I think it was Alice was like able to escape, but Zurara didn't. So there was some like conflict there too about like you got to escape and stuff thing. But yeah.
I don't think there was conflict. I think it was like they were
both
trying to escape, and he was like, "Go, it's okay,
go."
Go. Like you can't be mad. You told me to leave.
That's true.
I was gonna come back for you.
Exactly.
Well, now they like after this incident, they became more friendly with each other and worked together to defeat an elephant, which was cool. So,
yeah,
that was
they
one
did.
of the cases. One of my favorite things was just the fight scenes and the action. It was so good. They were like, oh my god, it was really good.
It was.
Yeah. So Toby, can you talk about like Abraha's introduction and?
Oh, his introduction! Oh my god, is this like anime villain introduction? I know, and he shows like all the things he did, like how he like manipulated the people and everything like that. All of those, like any other villain. and it shows how like that's his character and like how he's just full of himself and doesn't really
Yeah,
like
doesn't care too
he
much.
believes he can take over Mecca and doesn't really like. I guess he's a villain because he doesn't believe in like the god, but like yeah.
Yeah, and that's because he has a whole army of elephants. So
Yeah.
Like an army of
pretty,
elephants.
he's
And a
pretty
white
like
elephant.
yeah, he's pretty like up there with his pride and
yeah.
like, yeah.
And he was just full of pride. So like one of the scenes I like was when they first like he first encounters like Aus and Zurara, and when they had to like fight three other characters on the other side first. That fight was one of my favorite fights because it reminded me of like, oh, you always have those like one-on-one fights in the battle first and like a whole overarching like thing. So those battles were really cool. And it had like really intense weapons and they were huge. Also, the characters were just huge.
They were so big.
Compared to their
So
size.
big.
They were
The
like
characters
big.
that they fought against were huge and they were so puny, but like that's how it was told in the Quran too, for like a lot of stories. Like
a lot of stories. Yeah.
a lot of the stories are like the opponents were huge and we were small. Or the armies were large and we had a small army.
It's always
compared to there's just a huge army of elements, but like the other side there was like not a lot of people at all.
It was so like they were so outnumbered too. Like that's the big thing about they were outnumbered. Had a lot of elephants.
And the action scenes got so violent when it comes, and then it came to the point where elephants were like stepping on people like that.
That took me for a loop. That wasn't like the opening scene too.
Yes.
I remember they had like an opening scene and then they went back and then went to like the present again. Yeah.
There was no way, but there was a way and I was shook.
Yeah, there's always a way.
I thought it was just the one, but there were multiple elephant steppings.
Yes. Multiple stepping on people. Another thing I liked, there were Black people in this movie.
So yeah, the Abyssinians.
Yeah, there were dark-skinned characters in this movie, even though the majority of them were the enemy. But that was just
but it doesn't matter
to see Black people in the anime. So
and they weren't like caricature anime.
No. Even on the good side, there was one of the companions.
There was
also the friends were so cute. Okay, so you know the chubby guy, and then they were just funny.
they were willing to fight, and they fought.
They were just
to the very end.
I was surprised the chubby guy even survived.
Yeah, he actually like
he always could fight
a little bit.
He was out here fighting with shields. He was just shielding himself.
Yeah. And it's cool because every anime has those characters, those type of like followers where like have their own like funny moments in the whole battle. Yeah, that was cool.
Yeah, and then Zurara had like other mercenaries too, right? Who were kind of like just there and wanted to like escape to like not fight and stuff. But they also got, I don't
want to spoil the ending, but if you already know the ending, if you're Muslim, but I don't want to spoil the ending.
If you're Muslim, listen to the spoilers.
But literally the Quran
is literally the spoiler.
Even if you are Muslim, I've not even learned about
it's not even a spoiler though, because they didn't do anything.
Yeah, like the whole movie basically is just a battle, but they need to add storylines and stuff to make it fit like the 90 minutes or how long it was, whatever it was. So they had like
almost 2 hours.
Like the 3 stories that they showed, and they had it in a really nice, like cool animation style. So that was really cool to see the stories told that way.
Yes. I also love the artwork in this movie.
Yeah,
I like those.
Very
images.
nice.
Basically, when they were showing those like past like stories of miracles, like how they changed the art for that story, which I really enjoyed that.
It looks like they had a different artist for each story that they told.
Yeah, it was different too. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to remember like what filled in the gaps. So I know like we see scenes with Abraha, and what is the guy who was working for? I don't know what they call that, but this other guy who like
was the
helps with like the strategy and stuff.
That one guy who was like, is he the one guy who was like don't underestimate the other side because they could beat us. But the Abraha was like, no, we can beat them.
Yeah, that was like towards like the end.
Yeah.
So yeah, so you see the battle, they come in, they try to negotiate, that doesn't work, obviously. So they start fighting and then they're just losing until, the
Something happened.
miracle.
Yeah.
Yeah, what else I was gonna say? Yeah, so again with like the character designs, like it was, yeah, again, it was very good. Not like caricatures or anything like that. And it's not just that they were good, like they were just designed really well, like really like one of the top tier like animations for anime, I would say. And like at that time and stuff. So that was really good. Yeah.
Yeah, I appreciated the good character design. It wasn't like
Hmm.
normally when you think of like small projects like this, not saying it was like it wasn't necessarily a huge anime project. It was probably huge for like a small amount of people, like a niche category of people like us, like Muslim nerds. But like it wasn't choppy, it wasn't odd looking. I appreciated that it was really smooth. It wasn't like odds and ends. It was really well put together, and I really appreciated that part. I also appreciated the historical stories that were mentioned. I know we've talked about this, like from the point of views that they came from. It was interesting because I know, like, I remember hearing the story of Rachel, like from the Bible.
Yeah.
So I know that. So I can be like, oh, I can piece these things together. I know the story of Odd, and I appreciated because in my mind I was always confused that the like people of Odd were like these giants.
Yeah, and the artwork
like,
showed
I
it.
don't understand.
The artwork
when they had them as actual giants, because like in the Quran, it's like they had these giant homes and these giant castles that they built in mountains, and I was always like, I couldn't
How
imagine
does that work? Yeah,
was
exactly.
seeing that, like being able to put those things together and just being like, this is probably what the best part of it looked like, especially with all the worshipers. It wasn't just a bunch of giants walking around. So I appreciated that. And, obviously, most importantly, I appreciated how they kept the story true in nature. It's easy, well, not easy, but like when as Muslims, when people Islam is an oral tradition religion.
Yeah.
So when we hear stories, we know these stories, they're recited to us, they're told to us from every like halakha, which is like Sunday school, like any teacher telling a story to like their students. We're hearing these stories so often that if we can go and sit and watch a movie that's based on it, we can be like, yeah, that was true. I remember it. I remember this teacher told me, or I read it in the Quran here, or I read it in this book. So I appreciated that because the bird scene, I was forward to the bird scene so bad. Like I was like, ooh.
Oh my God.
I didn't know how it was gonna happen, but it happened. And because I was like, how did none of the other army get hit with these rocks?
Because that's just
the miracle.
But it was it was the miracle. But what really got me, I didn't know, and I don't know if this was based on character design or if this was real, because I don't know too much about the story. I want to know why Abraha had no nose.
I think story-wise, I think the body was totally like destroyed, like very like
but like he had that little mask thing on.
I didn't know. That's the thing. I feel like there's more background to these characters that like I wasn't aware of. So it was like nice to learn about like the no nose thing. That's why you had like the nose mask thing. Also another cool design, by the way. I was like, that's
really
cool. Like that's cool.
I
was like, wow.
That's dope design indeed.
Oh, also let's talk about the elephants too. Like
I never seen an elephant in an anime.
Because I know like that's one thing. You don't really see elephants in anime. I don't know. But that was cool because I know like when I was like researching the story, but I do know that the main elephant had a name, like Mahmoud, as they kept calling him Mahmoud. Yes. And I know and the elephants do like start bowing down, like when they were like towards the correction of like the Kaaba and disobeying orders at some point. So that was like
Yeah.
cool to see that. And you know how, yeah, animals, elephants, they're worshippers too.
I
So
felt so bad for the elephants though.
I know.
I felt so
But
bad.
again,
Like,
wow.
Elephants stepping on people.
those rocks had to have been like
I know, yeah.
So
light,
strong.
but also heavy enough because they were going through the elephant's armor.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like bullets, you know, they're small, but they can at a certain force or whatever. I don't know. Like,
Because that was the elephant scene was pretty profound.
yeah.
When they stopped crushing, because you really thought like Mahmoud was going to. But I didn't appreciate that Alice was only called the Elephant Slayer when Zero was also
Everyone else,
contributing.
they all helped.
Yeah, but someone did mention, those two people defeated this elephant. But then that was it.
They were out there slicing and dicing.
But
That
yes,
poor
action
elephant's
scenes-
ankles didn't have a chance. I cringed how they killed the elephant. It made me like flinch a little bit,
Of course.
but they
There's
did
always
that.
cringe
It was so
moments.
smooth.
I know. It was like
Smooth.
so coordinated. It was like a coordinated thing.
Gosh, it was
But
so
then it's like
nice.
they defeat one elephant, but there were so many other elephants. So I was like, there was at one point they didn't believe like, oh, would we actually win? It was like,
Yeah.
I remember, the army was like running away at first, but then were rallied to come back. Like those friends. I think it was, I forgot the name of the chubby guy, but also the black character. I think his name was Habib, who like helped bring the army back together and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, with the plane and stuff. The chubby guy's name was Hashem.
And there was a third character as well. There was like they're in a
There were three characters and
I
they were all
forgot
like
his
banging
name.
Yeah, and that
like-
story was cool too because they like saved his life during the battle tape thing and like with
Yeah.
her, but then it wasn't. Yeah.
one
Just
thing
like
I
any
like to
battles,
also
any
mention,
movie.
there's not a lot of women in this movie, but there is like Alice's wife, and
Yeah.
how she was the one who was like remembering the story of Rachel.
Yeah, she told
and,
us
like, how they had like those stories in like a woman's point of view as well, stuff like that as well.
Yeah, that was nice.
Mhm.
It was nice to see like all the older characters, like characters that I know, like Abdul Muttalib.
Mhm.
Like I know these characters.
I know.
I know you. Like Solenko, what's going on?
Oh no.
It was nice. It was so nice to see like I don't even know how to put this into words. It was nice to see that the aspirations and hopes and dreams that other content, not even content creators, but people that are trying to have more Muslim representation in anime are actually getting that acknowledgement and getting that representation, especially from a big company like Toei Animation.
I know it was a good step for
Agree to produce
Yes.
something and have such big
Mhm.
name people.
And it was written by a Japanese person too. Like this whole movie was like
yeah,
part of it
like
was
with collaboration like with manga studios.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I also do like people should look them up as well. They have like a cool mission statement on their website and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
They're making movies, video games, things like that. So it's pretty cool.
That's
what they're
dope.
doing.
That's really dope.
Yeah.
And
And I
again,
would like
more
yeah.
things in the future. But they have they're like, this is just the beginning of a partnership and stuff like that. So
Like it's a decent movie. Like it's not the worst thing you ever seen. Like anyone
decent
can
movie,
enjoy
yeah.
it. Like it was
Decent.
actually really well done.
Mhm.
And another thing to note, like this story has been made into cartoons and everything. Like I feel like for the longest time. So seeing it in this way, of course, me as a nerd really like anime. Seeing it like this is really cool too.
Yeah.
And a lot of Muslims watch anime. This is not like anime
Yeah.
is huge.
It's huge in
like
Asia. and-
Indonesia, the biggest
Yeah.
Muslim country. Huge. Anime is
Yeah.
Huge over there.
there.
Cosplayers that come from over there.
Yes, it's not like this
This
is
small
this is
thing.
it's not a small thing. It's
No.
a huge thing.
Mhm.
So yeah. So those are my final thoughts. Yeah. I recommend it and I enjoyed it.
Yes, definitely recommend it. It's only about like a 2-hour movie, so
Mm-hmm.
You enjoy
Yeah.
it if you're not Muslim, or even if you're not Muslim, you enjoy it as well. Like you don't have to be Muslim to enjoy it. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Mhm.